Good morning. Welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Ashwarya with you. All the big stories from India and across the world coming up in the next 30 minutes. First up, a look at the headlines. France backs India. French President Macron calls Kashmir a bilateral issue. Prime Minister Modi praises relationship, says ties are rooted in solid ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity. First Rafale jet to reach India next month, confirms French President Emmanuel Macron after his bilateral meet with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On day 2 of his visit to France, Prime Minister Modi to meet French Prime Minister, interact with the Indian community. Former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram sent to CBI custody till 26th of August in the INX media case. CBI Special Court calls allegations against Chidambaram serious, says case needs a detailed investigation. ISRO releases the first moon image captured by Chandrayaan-2, identifies the Mare Orientale Basin and Apollo craters in the picture taken from a height of 2,650 kilometers from the lunar surface. And Ajinkya Rahane's 81-run knock saves India on rain-affected opening day of the World Test Championship against the West Indies. Play called off after 68.5 overs on day 1 of the first Test match at Antigua. Our top stories from France. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday held wide-ranging talks with his French counterpart, French President Emmanuel Macron, in France. The two leaders discussed issues of bilateral and mutual interest to further boost their comprehensive strategic partnership. Both Prime Minister Modi and Macron held more than 90 minutes of long one-on-one interaction, followed by the delegation-level talks. In a joint statement that was issued after the talks, the two leaders reiterated their strong condemnation of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, including cross-border terrorism and terror-related incidents in both India and France.
हम दोनों देशों को आतंकवाद और रेडिकलाइजेशन का लगातार सामना करना पड़ रहा है। क्रॉस बॉर्डर टेररिज्म का मुकाबला करने में हमें फ्रांस का बहुमूल्य समर्थन और सहयोग मिला है। इसके लिए हम प्रेसिडेंट मैक्रो का धन्यवाद देते हैं। हमने सिक्योरिटी और काउंटर टेररिज्म पर सहयोग को व्यापक बनाने का इरादा किया है।
Prime Minister Modi said that the relationship between India and France is not based on any selfishness, but on solid ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity. The Prime Minister also said that India and France stand firm together to meet the challenges of climate change, environment and technology-inclusive development.
हमारी दोस्ती किसी स्वार्थ पर नहीं, बल्कि लिबर्टी, इक्वलिटी और फ्रेटर्निटी के ठोस आदर्शों पर टिकी है। यही कारण है कि भारत और फ्रांस ने कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर आजादी और लोकतंत्र की रक्षा की है, फासिज्म और एक्सट्रीमिज्म का मुकाबला किया है।
And in the joint statement, French President Emmanuel Macron said that India and Pakistan should resolve the Jammu and Kashmir matter bilaterally and added that no third party should interfere or incite violence in the region. He further said that peace should be maintained in the region and people's rights should be protected.
प्रधानमंत्री जी ने मुझे कश्मीर के बारे में सब कुछ बताया कि जम्मू कश्मीर के हालात के बारे में उन्होंने मुझे समझाया और मैंने उनको कहा कि ये पाकिस्तान और भारत को मिलकर ही इसका निर्णय, इस पे इसका कुछ नतीजा निकालना है और हम चाहेंगे कि कोई भी इसमें तीसरा आदमी इसमें इस हालात में कोई मुद्दों को खराब ना करे, कोई भी इसमें हिंसा को भड़काने की बात नहीं करे।
President Macron also said that France will deliver first of the 36 Rafale fighter jets to India next month.
विमान है वो अगले महीने भारत पहुंच जाएगा और ये हमारे लिए बहुत ही बड़ी बात है। और हमने बाकी भी अलग अलग सहयोग क्षेत्रों में जो सहयोग हो रहा है उसके बारे में बातचीत की, उसके बारे में हमने समीक्षा ली।
And ahead of the meeting, President Macron explained the historic significance of the Chateau de Chantilly to Prime Minister Modi and took him around the centuries-old building. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi was accorded a red carpet welcome at the airport. During his two-day visit, Prime Minister Modi will also meet his French counterpart as well and interact with the Indian community. He will dedicate a memorial to the Indian victims of the two Air India crashes in France in the 1950s and the 60s. Remember, Prime Minister Modi arrived in the French capital on Thursday. And from France, Prime Minister Modi will travel to the United Arab Emirates today, where he would receive the Order of Zayed, which is the highest civilian decoration conferred by the UAE. He will hold talks with the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and also will formally launch a RuPay card to expand the network of cashless transactions abroad. Prime Minister Modi will then visit Bahrain, where he will hold talks with King Sheikh Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. He will also witness the formal beginning of the redevelopment of the temple of Srinathji, the oldest in the Gulf region, before returning to France on Sunday to attend the G7 summit meetings. All right, let's go across to our colleague Akhilesh Suman, who is joining us live. Very good morning, Akhilesh. France has always been a steadfast supporter on India's position on Kashmir, and in fact, it had last week only blocked the Chinese moves at the UNSC. And once again, the two leaders they're reiterating their constant support to each other, and France also maintaining that Kashmir is a bilateral issue that India and Pakistan should resolve amongst themselves. And of course, the president also confirming the supply of the Rafale fighter jets to India.
Right. In a way, you can say that it was a heart-to-heart talk between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron. And as you know, in the last 7 to 8 years, France has emerged as one of the best friends of India in international arena, and one of the biggest achievement that India and France had joined together and launched the International Solar Alliance. That shows how uniformly and how similarly we think about the global issues. And in that context, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was talking to French President Emmanuel Macron, the issue of Kashmir came because last week Pakistani foreign minister had called French foreign minister, and Pakistan sought the support of France on the issue of abrogation of Article 370. But France said that it is a bilateral issue. And I think yesterday also when Prime Minister Narendra Modi briefed French President about the whole issues around Article 370 and the regional situation, French President came out in open and he told that it is a bilateral issue and no third party should interfere. You can understand that there are many third parties who are trying to see their role in resolving the issue between India and Pakistan, but India has a tough stand and very firm stand that there is no place for any third party. There are no place for any third party either inciting or interfering. So I think French President understood this situation, and he also told that he will talk to Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan, and the authority he gives because Pakistan Foreign Minister called French for support. So in that context, French President will call Imran Khan and tell him that if you have to resolve it peacefully. So So I think it was a very good understanding between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron on this burning issue in South Asian region. But other than that, that India and France has also talked intensively about a strategic situation between the two countries, and also the strategic situation in the world, specifically the Indo-Pacific situation. And India and France signed 4 agreements. That is, one of the agreements relate to Indo-Pacific situation. Indo-Pacific joint maritime awareness about Indo-Pacific situation. So I think this is one of the most important agreements between India and France in a strategic affair. The second agreement is also very important, that is about skill development, cooperation in skill development, because that India is a second largest population, and we need a skill development training from various countries, and France has come forward. So that is also, and other 2 agreements relate to renewable energy and advanced computing. And the fifth, one roadmap has been created between India and France regarding cyber security and digital technology. So I think other than strategic issues, these issues have also been discussed, and India and France will go in cooperation more closely than we have been seeing. And lastly, that the French President invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi for G7 itself shows that how important France gives to India, keeping India parallel to all the 7 democratic and most powerful economies in the world. And that is why Prime Minister will speak on 4 issues in that G7 summit, when he will go back to France again after going to UAE and Bahrain.
All right. Thank you so much, Akhilesh, for all those updates and perspective on that big story. And on to some other news now. A CBI special court on Thursday remanded a former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram to 4-day custody in the INX media corruption and money laundering case. While sending him to CBI custody till Monday, the special judge said that Chidambaram will be allowed to meet his family every day and shall also be examined medically from time to time. Remember, the former Finance Minister was arrested late Wednesday night for his alleged role in the case. And in its order, the CBI judge said that the allegations were serious in nature and a detailed and in-depth investigation is required in the case. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, representing CBI, said that Chidambaram was in conspiracy with others in the INX media scam. He said that Chidambaram's custodial interrogation was necessary to unearth the larger conspiracy, and he is required to be confronted with the documents as well. And our colleague Ravindra Singh Shoran is now joining us on the phone line. Ravindra, we understand that the questioning by the CBI of former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram is going to begin again in a short while from now. What more details can you provide us?
Yeah, good morning, Aishwarya. That's right. The questioning is going on, and the questioning of Chidambaram, which has started the day before yesterday, will continue for till 26th of this month, as the court has already said that he will be sent to the police custody, that is the CBI custody in this case. But also the important development which is going to take place today is his case is coming for the hearing in the Supreme Court as well, so that petition which he has filed to prevent from him from arrest has already been infectious. But what kind of order the Supreme Court will give today, that is also one of the important things. Also, the other thing is that the Enforcement Directorate will also may ask the court for the custody of P. Chidambaram, so that they can also interrogate him and try to find out some of the important things which the Enforcement Directorate has already said in the court. So these are the main development, and also the ED may file an application for joint interrogation with the CBI. As the CBI yesterday, the CBI's lawyer has also already claimed that they want P. Chidambaram to confront with some of the other accused in the case, and they also want to take him to those locations where the whole conspiracy was hatched. So these are the actions which we are thinking that these are going to happen today, later in the day. And after after the interrogation will be completed on 26th of this month, then the CBI will give its reply to the court whether they need a further interrogation of him in the custody, or they just want to send him to the judicial custody.
All right. Thank you so much, Ravindra, for all those updates there on that big story. Let's get you some other news now. The Enforcement Directorate questioned MNS Chief Raj Thackeray in the money laundering case on Thursday. The MNS leader reached the Mumbai's ED office in the morning, accompanied by his family. The ED had summoned Raj Thackeray in a case pertaining to alleged irregularities related to infrastructure leasing and financial services loan to Kohinoor CTNL. As a security measure, the Mumbai police imposed Section 144 outside the ED office and in some parts of Dadar, where the MNS chief resides, and some parts of central Mumbai as well. On to some other news, the fugitive diamond merchant Nirav Modi was further remanded to judicial custody by a UK court till 19th of September. Now, Nirav Modi appeared before the Westminster's Magistrates Court on Thursday via video link from his London prison. Now, he's wanted, remember, in India in connection with the nearly $2 billion Punjab National Bank fraud case and money laundering case. He is lodged in a London prison since his arrest in the month of March on an extradition warrant executed by the Scotland Yard on charges brought by the Indian government. And providing relief to 6.3 lakh pensioners, retirement fund body EPFO approved changes in employees' pension scheme to restore the commutation of pension. The move would benefit pensioners who had opted for commutation and got a large sum amount at the time of retirement before 2009. The provision for commutation of pension was withdrawn by the EPFO in 2009. Now, under the commutation, monthly pension used to be cut by 1/3 for the next 15 years, and the reduced amount would be given in lump sum. And after 15 years, the pensioners were entitled to get full pension. Moreover, the trustees approved the decision to choose the exchange-traded fund manufacturers through public bidding by 31st of October 2019. Former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh will take oath as a member of Rajya Sabha today. He was elected unopposed to Rajya Sabha from Rajasthan on 19th of August. The former Prime Minister was nominated by the Congress, while the BJP did not field any candidate for the by-poll that was necessitated due to the death of Rajya Sabha MP Madanlal Saini. Remember, Manmohan Singh was a member of Upper House of Parliament from Assam for almost 3 decades. And Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will reach Uttar Pradesh capital Lucknow today on a 3-day visit. The Defence Minister will take part in various programs, including a wreath-laying ceremony at the War Memorial at Central Command, Lucknow. During his stay, the Defence Minister will participate in various programs of the BJP cadres and other social activities as well. And earlier, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh approved the first batch of reforms in the army. Now, these include the relocation of 206 officers from the army headquarters, setting up of a separate vigilance cell, and forming an umbrella organization to focus on human rights issues. The officers to be relocated include 3 major generals, 8 brigadiers, 9 colonels, and 186 lieutenant colonels and majors. Another key approval given by the Defence Minister is to set up a separate vigilance cell under the Army Chief with the tri-services representation. The vigilance cell will have now 3 colonel-level officers, 1 each from the Army, Air Force and the Navy. Presently, the Vigilance Department operates through multiple agencies and there is no single point interface.
जहाँ तक आर्मी हेडक्वार्टर का सवाल है, वहाँ पर वो देखा गया था या उनके सोच में ये था कि ये ओवर स्टाफ्ड है और इसलिए उन्होंने सोचा कि ये बेहतर है कि जो ऑफिसर इस समय पर आर्मी हेडक्वार्टर्स में हैं वो कमांड हेडक्वार्टर्स, कोर हेडक्वार्टर्स और डिव हेडक्वार्टर्स, ब्रिगेड हेडक्वार्टर्स, वहाँ तक जाके पोस्ट हो जाएं कि अगर वहाँ पर कोई डेफिशिएंसीज हैं वो एक तरफ से मेकअप हो जाएगी। इसमें यह समझना कि जो आर्मी की जो ऑफिसर्स की डेफिशिएंसी है वो मेकअप हो जाएगी, इससे नहीं होने वाली है, क्योंकि डेफिशिएंसी जो आर्मी की है वो यंग ऑफिसर्स की है, जो 0 to 10 ईयर्स सर्विस के बीच में हैं, जो नए नए ऑफिसर हैं, बिल्कुल यंग से। तो उस प्रकार के ऑफिसर आर्मी हेडक्वार्टर्स में होते नहीं है। ये जो ऑफिसर जो भी आएंगे ये सीनियर लेवल के रैंक के हैं, लेकिन बाकी जगह पर जहाँ पर इनकी ज़रूरत है वो इस्तेमाल किया जाएगा।
And the first picture of moon captured by India's Chandrayaan-2 satellite, currently in the lunar orbit, was released by space agency ISRO on Thursday. The picture of the moon was taken from an altitude of about 2,650 kilometers from the lunar surface on 21st of August. Now, Mare Orientale Basin and Apollo craters can be identified in this picture. Remember, ISRO performed a second lunar orbit maneuver for Chandrayaan-2 on Wednesday and said that all spacecraft parameters are normal. Now, there will be 3 more orbit maneuvers before the lander's separation from the orbiter on 2nd of September, and then the eventual soft landing in the south polar region of the moon that is planned on 7th of September. A 3-day World Water Summit is being held in the NDCC Convention Centre in Delhi, where discussions are being held on the lack of clean drinking water and the steps being taken to tackle the problem of decreasing groundwater level. Now, experts said that the quantity of drinking water is decreasing, and for this, intense awareness campaigns are required. The theme of the third World Water Summit is clean and safe drinking water for all. Experts from 20 countries, including the US, UK, South Africa, Japan, Germany, Myanmar, Tokyo, and Denmark, are participating in the conference.
Based on this, there is a scarcity of water and clean water throughout the world. This is not a problem of India only. Modi government is taking most of its resources to water.
And the big international focus, huge tracts of the Amazon, which serves as the lungs of the planet by taking in carbon dioxide and storing it in soils and producing oxygen, are ablaze. Smoke from the widespread fires has turned day into night in Sao Paulo and intensified a controversy over the Brazilian government's land use policies. The Brazilian Amazon has experienced 74,155 fires since the month of January, according to the data from Brazil's National Institute for Space Research. Now, the extent of the area damaged by the fires has yet to be determined, but smoke has choked Sao Paulo and several other Brazilian cities. Forest fires tend to intensify during the dry season, which usually ends in late October or early November. And UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that he was deeply concerned by the wildfires that have devoured large section of the Amazon rainforest, blanketing several Brazilian cities in the thick smoke. And the Secretary General also tweeted that in the midst of the global climate crisis, we cannot afford more damage to a major source of oxygen and biodiversity. He further said that Amazon forests must be protected. All right, time to get you some sports news. And Ajinkya Rahane's 18th half-century helped India's revival to 203 for 6 on the opening day of the first test against the West Indies at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in Antigua on Thursday. Reduced to 25 for 3 by opening bowlers Kemar Roach and S. Gabriel after they were put into bat, Ajinkya Rahane underlined his immense value to a star-studded team with a gritty top score of 81 that helped to lift the team to a more competitive position by the end of the rain-interrupted day. And another significant contribution came in from opener KL Rahul, who contributed with 44 runs. Well, after dominating the proceedings In T20 and One-Day International Series, India are seeking to extend their winning streak in the Caribbean with a team featuring 3 fast bowlers and 1 specialist spinner, Ravindra Jadeja, getting the job ahead of R. Ashwin. And in more sports news, in the world of badminton, 2-time silver medalist PV Sindhu produced yet another commanding performance as she demolished the counterpart from the United States, Bevan Zhang, in straight games to advance to the quarterfinals of the BWF World Championships in Switzerland on Thursday. PV Sindhu won 21-14, 21-6 in the women's singles pre-quarterfinals match that lasted just 34 minutes, and she will now face the second seed Tai Tzu-Ying of Chinese Taipei in the quarterfinals today. And in the other match, Saina Nehwal, however, crashed out of the tournament after losing to Mia Blichfeld 21-15, 25-27, 21-12 in a hard-fought contest. While in the men's singles, B. Sai Praneeth dished out a superlative performance to stun world number 8 Anthony Sinusuka Ginting and progress to the quarterfinals. And today he will clash with his Indonesian counterpart Jonathan Christie. However, K. Srikanth and H.S. Pranoy suffered defeats and they both bowed out of the tournament. And with that, we wrap up this edition of news. But before we leave, take a look at the weather forecast across the country. Thanks so much for watching.